that escalated quickly. Hello everyone, David here, back again to review Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And this time it is for episode 19 of season 1, entitled The Only Light in the Darkness. Which is ironic because I think the appropriate title would be The Only Darkness in the Light, and by darkness I mean this scary motherfucker. Yes, this was such an important episode for the character of Ward, but before I get into any of that, I am going to be talking about spoilers for this current episode, some rather big ones, so if you have not caught up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., please do so and then come back and we can chat all about this episode, which I thought was very gripping. Okay, this has got to be one of the most gripping episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that I've seen in a while, and that is including the episode since the big reveal behind S.H.I.E.L.D. that Captain America the Winter Soldier introduced. But unfortunately that came with a bit of a trade-off, and the trade-off was that one of the things that I was afraid of this show doing once again kind of sort of came true. Going back to the episode where Garrett and Ward break into the fridge and they let all those people out, Garrett at one point says they should keep Coulson busy, and sure enough, half of this episode is dedicated to this one character named Mark Daniels. I think that was his name, Mark Daniels, I believe, who has the power to absorb energy from things, so lights are turning off whenever he walks by. He's able to zap the life out of people, and Coulson finds a personal attachment with this guy. What that personal attachment is, we don't know, but he makes it his mission to find this guy, and that's where I started to dread this episode because, hello, again, we are back to the whole case of the week scenario, and so Coulson and Simmons, Fitz, and Triplet go out to find this guy for some reason that Coulson is withholding back. And that entire plot I found to be kind of meh. Not for 1 second was I interested in any of that. That character, Mark Daniels, was completely bland. The actor who was playing him was bland as well. That he brought nothing to the table to make me interested in that entire plot. The only interesting thing about that plot would have to be that the girl that's put in peril is actually the girl that Coulson used to be with. The one that he would often mention in previous episodes when he'd say that he had a romantic interest at one point, but because Tahiti happened, he had to let that go. And we finally find out who that person was in this episode. And Coulson really never goes in any direction with that. He goes back to being a bit of a ghost. But it is nice to see that Coulson still has some depth in terms of his background, in terms of his history. And it's nice to see that, but it didn't do anything to make me fully invest in this entire plot. What was 100 times more interesting was Ward being inside the compound. Holy whoa, this... Okay, in the past couple of episodes, it is revealed that Ward is Hydra, and sure, they make him a baddie, he's menacing, he's but it was in this episode where he genuinely became scary. He was legitimately scary. I was at the edge of my seat, and I actually cared for Skye, who was going everywhere looking for Kennick, and I was genuinely scared for her because Ward, man, it was in this episode where they made him such a villainous type of character that, you know, he was written very well and he was just very cold-blooded. I couldn't believe a single word that he says, but I understood why other characters believed the words that he said because, you know, they're still duped, just like I was as a viewer, so... Oh my god, it made me resort to being that audience member who says, oh no, don't go in that closet, don't go in that closet because Ward's right behind you. And personally, I found the way they got to that point was actually rather clever, with Skye being the only one among them who knew that the badges were actually little chips so that Kennick could keep track of them, and it was through this that Skye finds out certain things that I'll go into much more detail in a little bit, but it was just very suspenseful, and I haven't been at the edge of my seat while watching a TV show in a really long time. I mean, sure, The Walking Dead and more so Breaking Bad had their fair share of suspenseful moments that don't even that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't necessarily come close to those, but in the context of this show, this has got to be one of the most riveting episodes to date. Now, unfortunately, that all of that suspense and because they go in some really bold directions with the suspenseful nature of Ward's entire plot in this episode, but one of those bold decisions that this episode decided to make would be a bit of a cost, and that cost comes in the form of Patton Oswalt being killed off in this episode, because I found his character to be way better in this episode than in the previous one. Because in the past episode, it was just Patton Oswalt, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, whatever. It was in this episode where I actually saw certain characteristics as to why Nick Fury recruited this guy. I'm like, okay, this guy does indeed look ahead and think ahead so that he knows what to do. And I really enjoyed his character, and it was a huge shame that the show decided to go in the direction of killing him off right when they made him a better character. But at the same time, it's the kind of bold decision that a show needs to take in order to grow some balls and make us lose ours when we're at the edge of our seats. But it doesn't stop there. No. Not only does Chloe Bennett give a rather good performance in this episode. I mean, for the majority of the episode, she's doing her whole shtick as Skye, but this episode decides to go ahead and let at least one person find out about Ward through the cleverness of using that technology to be able to track down where Kenneth was, and lo and behold, Skye finds out that Ward is Hydra, and her reaction to it was very authentic, and I think this is where Chloe Bennett really shined as an actress, because I believed the terror that she was. She was the Jamie Lee Curtis in this episode to Ward's Michael Myers, and man, she just made me believe it. My only nitpick about that would be that I think she was a little too good of an actress to go back to being regular Skye after she finds out, and she goes up to Skye and saying, she goes up to Ward and is all like, hey, you kind of scared me, but I'm down to, and maybe go on this mission with you. It was just too good of her pretending not to be affected by this that it was a bit of a stretch, but I'm going to go ahead and look past it for now, but I am going to take notice of it. And I'm genuinely surprised that Skye found out in the first place, because throughout this whole time, since the reveal of Ward being Hydra, I was thinking to myself, it would make for an interesting season finale to have the team find out that Ward is Hydra, but they already went ahead and let one of their own find out, so, and only 3 episodes before the finale, so I found that immensely interesting, and it's all building up to some form of confrontation wherever Garrett is and wherever Ward is going to take Skye after this episode, because evidently the rest of the team finds out that, hey, the bus is missing, Ward and Skye are missing, and unbeknownst to Coulson, May actually has taken off, which I also found pretty interesting to see her take her own path. There's a really good chance that she's going to come back into the picture because she's doing her own personal investigation behind what is going on, who ordered the Tahiti project, more into Hydra in the means of tracking down Maria Hill, who's definitely going to come back into the show, played by Kobe Smulders, because of recent articles, which again really bugs me about the internet and their saturation of news. But anyways, that's besides the point. I found that thread with May doing her own little investigation with her mom, that's really cute, to be quite interesting, and I definitely think that this episode is hinting at another big confrontation by the end of the season. My only last few nitpicks about this episode would be that entire scene at the beginning with the lie detector felt like it was created just to manufacture suspense. It didn't feel organic. It didn't feel like it fit in terms of the writing of this episode. The rest of the episode with Ward trying his best to have Skye decrypt that hard drive and having to kill Kenneth, that was good. That just felt seamless. But that scene where Kenneth comes out with the lie detector and says that, hey, everybody's gonna have to do this, it felt too much like, hey, Ward's eventually gonna have to go through this, and because it's so early in the episode, he's gonna pass it, but they're gonna make it look like he's not gonna pass it. In fact, I would have thought that would have been a bold choice to not have him pass it and pull off some sort of move that would lead him to kill Kenneth anyway. But instead, he comes up with, I will say, a sensical answer by kind of telling the truth, but not telling the whole truth kind of thing, and cheating the test. And don't get me wrong, I like it when shows or movies don't explain everything, but I am a little curious to do a little bit of investigation as to why Ward needed to put that needle into his thumb and use that in some form to cheat the lie detector test, but I don't know. And I thought Fitz deciding not to tell Simmons the truth about how he feels about her was a bit cliche, even though that entire romantic angle is kind of cliche, where, you know, you got your best friends that are a guy and a girl, but as time goes on, the guy has feelings for the girl, and the girl kind of doesn't see it that way. And I know it happens in real life. As cliche as it is, I know it happens in real life. But the way it ends by this episode, I'm kind of like, okay, you know, we've seen that 1,000 times before. Even though I found it immensely cute that Simmons turns out to be a Whovian. I mean, I don't even watch Doctor Who, but I thought her reference to the TARDIS was really cute. Definitely a good episode that is keeping up with the momentum that this show has been building, even though I'm still very scared that they're gonna try to force all of these stories, all of these case of the week scenarios into the season until it ends. And I'm hoping they don't go that direction based on how this episode ends, and it would be a very good thing for them to just go in that direction rather than to bring in all these people saying, "Hey, look who popped up this week! Look who we have to go after in this particular episode." And I hope they keep doing what they're doing with Ward, because way to go, guys. Way to develop a character that was kind of boring at the beginning, but has developed into not only a very complex character, but a scary one at that. And for that, I give The Light in the Darkness, or whatever the hell it's called. It's a very, very involved title. An 8 out of 10. It's been an 8 out of 10 show for some time now, but it's been keeping with that momentum. So it's only fair to give that rating to every episode that has been keeping that momentum. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode, and I'll see you guys next week with my review of episode 20. See you guys then.